There is no investigation. This boy had.
There's not really. This to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and where
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy had.
There's not really. This to me. Right.
It's hard, you know, but that's real tough.
But I have to put her on the side and where about the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There
Today
is no investigation. This boy had.
Not
is
really.
a day
This to me.
that should
But I have to put her
strike fear
on the side
into
and where about the boys.
many people that have committed crimes and hidden them, hidden
Well, I have
bodies. Today is a
There is no
day
investigation.
Don't say any F's
that
and
should
stuff.
strike fear into the likes of Barry Morphew, Dee Warner's husband, Dale Warner, and
On the side.
Larry
and where about the
Miliete,
boys.
and many, many more. Because after 3.5 or close to 3.5 years, as you have heard, I'm sure, Suzanne Morphew's remains were found today. And nobody could be happier about it than me or you or people that want the justice for Suzanne, even their daughters. And I'll get into that as well. You got to understand. The one person that should be crapping their jugs, not just the one person, but many, Barry Morphew is not pleased with this development. You could imagine his surprise. It is shocking. It was unexpected, and it happened basically on accident. Now, the wheels of justice are slow, and we had heard for months now after the murder charges for Barry were dropped. We had heard for months that they were close to finding a body. Nobody believed it. Nobody believed that they were close to finding her body, yet they found it on accident. And that's how a lot of these cases end up. That's how a lot of these cases get solved. That's how a lot of people are found. And we're going to go over some of the evidence in the affidavit that would suggest that there's one perpetrator and one perpetrator only, one suspect only, the man that was initially charged with this heinous crime. And we'll go over it because I'm telling you, give me 1 second here. Yeah, I don't know what that was. I could just hear the dogs are going crazy. They're going crazy. Now, as far as I know, the last sighting of Barry was in Mexico. Now he is not on the run, as far as I know. Mexico was a frequent place for him to be. and probably a great idea if you're trying to avoid being charged with murder. It would be a great place to run from. However, from what I understand is that Barry Morphew had, just like all the others, and I'm talking about Larry Miliete, and I'm talking about Dale Dummy Warner as well. And Dale, I don't know if you watch the show or not, but I'm sure you're next. We'll probably be talking about you at some point in the near future with these kinds of discoveries. But, you know, in this affidavit, you have this man blaming God for her disappearance or whatever. You know, they always say, well, she ran off to Mexico. She did this. She did that. She went here. She went there. Jamaica, Mexico, blah, blah, blah. She just ran off on her kids. That's what she did. She ran off on her kids because that's what women apparently do, is when they're just so tired of their husbands, they run off on their children. And that is what these men want people to think. They want their own children to believe that their mothers betrayed them and ran off on them. It's not enough that they have done the unspeakable and then covered it up, but they also have to make it seem like it was all her fault. And this is a tactic that's been extremely common in years past. And it will be something that is said in the future. Everything leading up to her going missing on that day, the day they went on the bike ride or whatever it is, everything pointed to turmoil. Everything pointed to craziness. Everything pointed to a marriage on the rocks and about to hit the skids. And it did. Now, some of the evidence that they have against Barry, that the defense has already attacked constantly, is the cell phone, the cell phone pings in the house. Now, right before I came on the air here, and this is in 2020, and it's been like this for a long time, cell phone companies obviously are constantly requested for this kinds of stuff. KU, the last we heard that Barry has been in Mexico, that he's not stateside, but he's not on the run as of yet because there's no arrest, and he is free to roam the world at this point in time. At this point in time, he is free to roam the world. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any charges against him at this time. Okay. So that's that. Yeah. Mexico was a frequent vacation spot for them. Now this, so what I did is, you have that tracking on your phone when you're looking for your children. That's part of the reason you pay the cell phone bills, because you're like, I'm going to keep track of you. And I just went and looked, and I just tracked one of my children who was not home at the time. And it, just on my phone alone, it tells me what room they're in. So I'm looking, my son is at college. It shows me that he's in the gym, not just the gym, the corner of the gym that he's in. And I can see when he's walking around step by step. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And I can see him move. I can see him moving step by step by step. The prosecution claims that Barry was chasing Suzanne around. Chasing her around in the house. She was running from him, according to cell phone data. Now, what happens in every single trial, every single anything, unreliable. I'll tell you what, it's pretty reliable. And if I can see what room my son is walking into, room to room, step by step, well, you would think that the cell phone company would be able to find something out like that. And especially in this case, there is no blood, but apparently after Suzanne went missing, the guy is traveling to many different dumpsters. His day is not accounted for. There's a million things wrong with Barry and his everything about it is wrong. There are no other suspects. The man was legitimately charged with the murder. It was granted by a judge to drop those murder charges while the prosecution continued gathering evidence. And voila, here we are. Now, when does Barry Morphew get arrested? Well, that's a great question. As reading through all the stuff today, I believe it is the Colorado Bureau of Investigation has made it very clear that she was in a very difficult spot, that they found her in a shallow grave in a dry, deserty area, and some of the remains had been scattered, whether that's because of animals, whether that's because of whatever. So what they have to do now is they go and examine all the findings, the remains. And when they do that, they'll be looking for signs in the bones of, say there's and this is just an example. Say there is a bullet hole in her skull. Say there is a crack in her skull. That kind of stuff, obviously, dead giveaway right away. All right. That would indicate a murder. They want to be able to prove that she was murdered. Now, do they have to? No. Is it nice to have? Of course. Josh, doesn't Mexico still extradite? Yes. Yeah. It's not like he's going to be able to run free. If he does run, and I don't know if he is going to or not, I have no idea what Barry's plans are. However, I do find it strange that several hours, close to 8 hours since this announcement has happened, and somebody who was madly in love with his wife, who had nothing to do with her disappearance and ultimately now confirmed death, has made no statement, nor will he. Probably for the best on his part. I wouldn't either if I was him. Now, if I was me, I would. But if I was him, I certainly wouldn't. Which brings up another interesting topic. That is, the man is suing the FBI and many other agencies for ruining his great name. Apparently, he was some, beautiful, loving man in a previous life. And ever since he was charged with the murder of his wife, well, they tarnished his name. But here's the thing, and I've seen this actually happen before, folks. I've seen this happen. Barry is suing the people that are investigating him, and he's going to have to sit for depositions that involve this case. They're not just going to hand him that money. They're going to get him under oath. And sometimes that really backfires. Now, I don't know how smart this guy is. I have no clue how smart he is. but he's going to have to sit for a depo, and he's not going to want to do that, especially now. I mean, do you really think that he's going to want to do this? The first thing that this man should be worried about is getting re-indicted for the murder of his wife, because ultimately it is coming. They have to. They have to at least try. They have to try, because now they have her body. Do you think that they charged this man, indicted this man without a body, only to ultimately have it dismissed and then come back again now that they have the body? They have to try. No matter what. No deals, no nothing. You got to try. And the lawsuit, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know the status of it really. I know that he is suing for $15 million because his good name is tarnished. It sounds like the people that kind of knew Barry kind of knew about his good name before all of this happened. Remains found were positively ID'd as that of Suzanne Morphew, so that means the body wasn't too badly decomposed to identify her within days of being found. Look, dental records, DNA, they probably look, they can fast track things, kind of move stuff to the front of the line, and probably did. But you can rest assured that prosecutors are now weighing all their options. They're weighing all their options in there, and they have to at least try. Now, I understood why they first of all, they charged him too soon the first time. And I think that they recognized that because they had information that possibly her body was close to being found. Turns out it was just accidentally, which, by the way, like I said, people with outstanding cases that are watching this, pay close attention, because I don't know if deer season's coming up. I don't know, turkey season's coming up. I don't know what season is coming up, but there's going to be people out in the woods. They're going to be people, and they're going to be looking, and some things will be found. It's how it happens all the time. I believe that, Colorado Bureau of Investigations were the ones that found it. Duck season. Yeah. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see where this goes and how long they wait to charge Barry again. And rest assured, I'd bet you, I don't know, whatever, that they will. How can you not? How could you not try and go back at this again? Let me see here. And Janine R., thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate that very much. I believe, what is it, Friday morning, we'll have a members only live, so that should be fun, and we'll anyway, we'll deal with that later. I'll announce it on a post. So now we have what evidence we're talking about. Now, we were talking about the running through the house. There was a tranquilizer dart sheath found in the dryer. That was interesting. You have the bobcat. You have many other things. Many other things. Is the case, or was the case that they had against Barry good enough? Probably not. You can always re-indict somebody, but you can't retry somebody. Once the trial's done, if OJ wanted to come out and yell in the middle of Times Square that he killed Ron Goldman and Nicole, then he could, and they could do nothing about it. He basically has. You got one shot. The shovels in the hotel. There's so many. The bleach. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to it. And it almost seems that what's really disturbing about this case is the text messages leading up to that divorce. The text messages leading up to what was going to be a divorce. Now, this is how it always happens in these kinds of cases. If you're looking at Maya Miliete, Dee Warner, and Suzanne Morphew, they're carbon copies of each other. It always starts off, it's a tumultuous marriage. They're married to some psychopath who has to be in control. And one thing you'll notice about these three fellas is that that's what they are. I know these kinds of guys vividly. I grew up knowing that who my father was and who my father has been. He's no better than any of them. They're all the same. They are wife killing losers. They're murderers. They steal the mother of their kids from the world. And then they lie to them and say, well, mommy ran off. Mom doesn't love you anymore. Mom this, mom that. And luckily, I never had to deal with that. It was clear cut what happened. And so, but I know what these guys do. They lie, they manipulate. Don't think that, even some of that came in into my life. Your dad loves you. He would normally, he wouldn't have done anything like that. You just go, what the hell does that mean? Normally this, never mind normally what these guys would do. We're not talking about what normal people would do or normally what they would do. They're driven by money. They're driven by power, dominance, and their ego. I'll be damned if my wife leaves me for some computer nerd or whatever it is. Who knows? Who knows why they have the problems that they have, but they do. Yeah. If I can't have you, nobody will. Those words were literally said to my mother. They were also said, my father also said just that he wanted to scar her face up so nobody would ever want her besides him. And as sick as that is, it's just not out of the ordinary for guys like this. For guys like Barry, for guys like Larry and Larry. You know what I'm saying? Barry and Larry, and then you got old Dale, just some great names. Barry, Larry, and Dale. It's like the Three Stooges reloaded. These guys are driven by money, pride, selfishness, and everything in between. It's a line that is uttered constantly. If I can't have you, nobody can. If I can't have you, nobody will. I loved her so much. Well, Barry, if you love your wife so much, my friend, why don't you come out and say, oh my God, it's been 3.5 long years of searching for my wife who probably ran off to Mexico or Jamaica and just left her kids high and dry and just left. She's just chilling in the tropics somewhere. Oh, no, she's not. She's 50 miles from where she is, buried in a shallow grave with her remains scattered everywhere. Wow, that took a turn, didn't it, Barry? Of course it did. It's just crazy to even think that these women, these accomplished stand-up mothers who have to deal with these psychotic assholes, excuse my language, that they could be convinced. Dale Warner, for you the people that aren't familiar, Dale Warner has tried to convince their young daughter that mommy just packed up and left. Barry, same thing. I feel terrible for Barry's daughters. Now, they are a bit older, and, you know, when the evidence is staring them in the face like today, this was quite a shock, I'm sure, but I think most everybody knew that she was no longer around because, well, when you need proof of life, you need proof of life. There's no proof of life. They charged him with murder. There's evidence. Now there's a body. And they don't want to lose both parents. And I understand that from the bottom of my heart. But Barry, in my opinion, is guilty as sin. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some jerk that's in the comments. You don't know if he's guilty. This could clear him. This could, okay, whatever. If it clears him, sorry, Barry. Well, okay, it's not going to clear him. Matter of fact, all it does is strengthen their case. Will he be found guilty? I don't know. Should he be charged with a crime? Yes. Annette Thompson says, Josh, can they charge him twice for the same thing? They certainly can. And they will. I believe that they will wholeheartedly. Because they were ready to charge him once, and now they're going to do it again. They have to. I mean, you cannot, with all the recusals. And by the way, this case has been a mess from every angle. I can't even tell you how many people have at one point a judge recused himself, and after that, just is so many things. But, then in the affidavit, they put out these text messages, these messages that say, Suzanne confiding in friends, not wanting to be with Barry anymore. Cookie cutter of those two other cases, Maya Miliete and Dee Warner. Cookie cutter stuff. It's all the same. This is how these guys try to get away with murdering their wives. Larry, if you ask me, Larry is pretty much done for. I think that Barry will be eventually indicted again. And I don't believe by any means it's a slam dunk, but I do believe that he will eventually be found guilty for murder, destroying evidence. I mean, there's a laundry list of charges that this man can absolutely be tried for, and they're going to do it. And I can't wait for that. Let me see. And Lake Superior Girl says most dangerous time for a woman is when she is trying to end a marriage or a relationship. We've talked about that on this show before. It's something that is near to my heart. And that is, if you are in a violent relationship of any kind, if you are abused, make a plan with a friend. Don't tell anybody else. Just get out of there. I'll say this again, and only because it actually pertains to this case. 3 days before my mother was murdered, we were on our way to Seattle. We were leaving. My dad knew it, and he wasn't going to let that happen. We were starting a new life. We were out of here. And guess what? We never made it. So, you got to understand, it is so dangerous to tell anybody besides your safe person that you're done with this relationship. And that's what we saw here. She was done with this relationship. Done. Suzanne was done, and Barry pitted those girls against her. He enjoyed it. Guy cuts him. She in the text, like she cuts him. He cut himself. Great. It's like what? You know? Genji says, every time you talk about your experience, my heart breaks. Look, I'm here. I'm fine. This kind of stuff goes on. People wonder, these are the cases that really stick out to me. It's just, it is what it is. I have some insights. I have some knowledge of the feelings of this. Now, however, my mother's body was not hidden, but I wouldn't have put it past him in that situation. He was on the run for some time. I just know what these girls don't want to accept, and what they do not want to accept is that their father killed their mother. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's a big old horse pill. And especially at their age. And especially under the circumstances. Because they have to be convinced as well. And it's going to be almost impossible. They will probably stand by their dad until the end. That sucks. But that's life. And I understand it. And people are, how could they support him? Because it's their dad. They're going to. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. Probably. Let's see here. Save the Bee says they've been manipulated by their dad. There's no question that they've been manipulated by their dad. There's no question whatsoever. And it's like I said, it's heartbreaking because that's what these guys do. That's what Barry does best. He manipulates situations. He loves it. He's good at it. He is a salesman through and through. He's an avid hunter, and anything that he doesn't approve of isn't going to go. In one of these text messages here, he thinks you can see in the middle there where it says, I was a broken girl looking for stability and no confidence in who I was. He thinks we're great as long as he's getting what he wants. I used to say this to my employees all the time. They'd always say, "Oh, that person's nice," or "That person's a good, nice person." You know, when you're dealing with these customers, and I'd always say, everybody's nice as long as things are going their way. Everybody's calm. Everybody's fine as long as it's going your way. But as soon as something happens, guess what? People aren't so nice. People aren't so forgiving. People aren't so understanding. You get it? Everybody is a good person and a nice person while everything is on their terms. That is what you're dealing with Barry. You can see it in these text messages leading up to the day that she went missing and was ultimately, in my personal opinion, murdered by Barry. Now the theory is that he shot her with a couple of tranquilizers because they found that sheath in the dryer. I don't know why the guy's walking around with a tranquilizer dart sheath in his, I would assume it was in his pocket. I don't know that for certain. I'm not exactly sure where it was. Who wants to believe your father's a killer? Nobody. Of course not. Well, like I said, Dawn, I would be paying attention to something like this. Putting on a show for the outside world. That's exactly what happened. I don't think a mountain lion dragged her 45 miles to where the remains were found. And I also don't think that mountain lion dug a shallow grave for her either. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But I don't, but I don't know. The texts are self-serving. What do you mean by that? I don't know that. What do you mean? Self-serving to who? Let's see. All right. So in the very first one, you can see down here. Oh yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, okay, so self-serving. You're totally right. How are things on the home front right now? Any changes? Here's what she says. It changes like the wind. Long text this morning of an apology and declaration. I am so sorry. This is standard abuser stuff. This is what happens when somebody beats on somebody or abuses them. They come back and they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again." And until they're pissed off again. And then they do it again. I feel bad. I don't want to cause him. And now she feels bad that she's being abused by this man. These are text messages that this woman never thought would see the light of day. These are private text messages. These aren't something that she made up after the fact. This was private conversations. Sorry, these were private conversations. Long text this morning, apology and declaration. It's sad. I feel bad. I don't want to cause him to have to do this. There's just become a point that the reality of what's never been there is sobering. She's thinking clearly. She doesn't love him anymore. She doesn't want to be with him anymore. And I've accepted what is. He can't change the core person, makes me wonder what the young me was thinking. She has accepted that this relationship is no longer working. Barry doesn't feel that way. How dare her want to leave? How dare her? She's not allowed. You're not allowed to leave. But you are, actually. Be interested to see what clothing they recovered, biking gear, bikini, ordinary clothes. Well, I'm sure we'll find stuff. We will find that stuff out at some point. Because like I said, I do believe that this is going back to trial, and it should. There should be another indictment, and he should have to put up another $500,000. But I want to know what's going to go on with that deposition. I would love to see him follow through with that deposition now that there's a body found, not just a body, Suzanne Morphew's body, because she's a real person who investigators believe was killed by this man, Barry. And it's going to go to trial, I believe. But I do not believe he continues. I do not believe he continues with this, because now he's got to go under oath. Going under oath for a deposition when you're accused or have been accused of murder, while there's no body, even though the charges were dismissed, this man could have got himself re-indicted just by showing up to that deposition, depending on the way he answered the questions, depending on how smart he is. But you have to actually answer questions. The only thing that's allowed in depositions are truth and untruth. That's it. And if you don't have the truth on your side, it's a problem. And so I just don't think that Barry is going to be willing to do that. I don't think Barry is going to be willing to sit and answer questions now that they have found his wife's body. I've seen people get indicted for murder because they sued the city or the town or whatever it was. They've sued the city, town, or whoever, and then they have to sit for a deposition, and then they answer questions. It's like, not a good look, not a great idea. You shouldn't do it, but they do it. So I would love to see that, but I just don't think that that's going to happen at this point, nor should it. Let me take a look here. So why is this? This is just crazy to me. Why is this in the so is it he just walks around with stuff like that? Barry just walks around with tranquilizer sheaths and, casings or whatever the freak it is. And I don't know what he's sedating. What is he shooting mountain lions with it? What does he need? Is he an elephant tamer? Why would you just want to make a bobcat go to sleep? I don't get it. If he follows through with the lawsuit, yeah. Okay, so he sedates the chipmunks. Okay. Yeah, everybody gets a lawyer for a deposition, unless you want to represent yourself, which is never a good idea. Okay, well, what would be the point of sedating a chipmunk? Why wouldn't you just shoot it with like a pellet or something? I'm just saying, I have no idea. I have no idea why you would do that. It doesn't make much sense, but none of this does. And then, you have this whole thing about him, the bobcat, the new blade, and then you have other things like him stopping it. I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember how many trash receptacles this man stopped at. And I have no idea. Her bones were scattered. I guess the cement didn't set up. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know if that she was buried with cement over. It sounded like it was just in a remote location in the middle of like a deserty, bushy area. They probably hit on some soil testing and then brought out dogs and all kinds of crap to I mean, they have great technology. It's just one of those things, you're searching for a needle in a haystack, but the problem is you got to find the haystack before you can look for the needle. It's kind of a problem. You got to be able to look in the right direction. And this was an accidental find. They were working on a completely separate case. Accidental find. They got let's see. No, they said recent cement. I don't know. I didn't see it. Okay. So it said, okay. So it was freshly poured cement. Okay. Yeah. Which is crazy. Well, that would mean that the cement didn't sit. Yeah, exactly. Very, very interesting. And it seems like a lot of these cases take about 3 years, or whenever they find the body. That's when, it just takes a lot of time. They wanted to find the body, and you want to find the body because trying no body cases is much more difficult, but that's okay because it happens all the time. It's just more difficult. They were willing to go forward without it at one point, but they thought that, hey, we might have something bigger coming up, and then they accidentally found her this way. But once again, this is how a lot of people are found, just by happenstance. And I bet you that Barry can't believe that they found her. They just can't. He probably can't believe it. You know how many bodies get buried out in the desert? It's not an uncommon place to put a body. Eventually, you're probably going to run into another crime scene. It just so happens that this crime scene was the crime scene that they were at was a very well-known case. And voila, you have yourself a new murder case. And I do think, once again, that he is going to go to trial. And I think that he will be found guilty, because there is a lot of damning evidence against this man. A lot. And it's a circumstantial case. I get it. And I preach this I love circumstantial evidence. It's common sense. Now, it rained here last night, but I didn't see it rain. But when I woke up, everything was wet. There were puddles in the road. I'm pretty sure that it rained. I don't have proof. I mean, I'm sure I could find proof, but say that there was no way to prove it. Say we were Little House on the Prairie. There's no weatherman. There's no nothing. But I got puddles, and I got everything's wet. My horse is wet. My lamp blew out. Half pint. Got the eggs and the chickens wet. I'm assuming that it rained the night before, or somebody took an irrigation. They didn't even have those back then. I'm just saying that is how this kind of stuff works. And there's a lot of it. When you start stacking them on top of each other, it's going to be really hard to karate chop that circumstantial evidence in half. It's just not going to happen. They certainly do, Katie Bug. That's a really great point as well. Bodies do have a way of resurfacing. I had a friend that went overboard on a boat. He went overboard on a boat many, many, many years back. And he was missing for about 2 years. And one day, he got hauled in on a net. He was 16 miles off the coast. 16 miles. He fell overboard. He was a fisherman, bottom fish. And holy crap, they found him. Now it was his wallet, his pants, just sitting at the bottom of the ocean. And they drug him in, and it was him. And we were able to bury him. He was in the ocean for like 2 years. Excuse me. 2 years. Which is unbelievable. The fact that they were able to do anything like that. That's what I'm trying. People say, how do people outsmart law enforcement? They don't. Finding bodies is hard. It's extremely difficult to find a body. When somebody wants to hide a body, it's not easy to find it for a reason. Well, what reason's that? Well, because they don't want you to. And the earth is big, and it's not flat like some people think. I don't even want to get into that. It's just big. It's just spacious. It's just goes on for a long time. His family got closure. It was actually an amazing thing. I read about it. It was in the local newspaper. They said that a body had been found that had been at sea. And I knew that it was him just from the stuff that they described, like his wallet and his, it was like a beanie, and it was just everything that I knew that he was wearing, And so that's really an amazing thing. And I'm so glad that Suzanne can be laid to rest now, and that she can be given a proper burial, and that she given the respect that she is owed and deserved. And now the justice, the finding part's over. She's found. Now the justice, hopefully, rains down on Barry or whoever did this. And I'll just say just for, just to be open-minded, I guess. But it's Barry. I mean, there's no other suspects. The guy was chasing her around the house, for God's sakes. Barry Morphew is a grade A scumbag. He is a piece of crap. He is a liar, a killer, an abuser, and so on, and so on, and so on. Lacey Peterson's body surfaced too. And it just so happens that the Lacey Peterson, that's funny that you bring that up. And thank you, C-Star, for mentioning that to me. I believe, what was it, 4 or 5 months, somewhere around that after. It just so happens that her body floats up in the bay. And apparently Scott was fishing that day all by his lonesome in that body of water. Oh, what are the odds of that? Not good if you're saying you didn't do something. Not good if you claim that you didn't do anything. The odds just aren't good for you. That was a circumstantial case, and they cooked him. And he did receive the death penalty, but he wasn't given the death penalty, even though he deserved the death penalty. California, in all of its bureaucratic bullcrap, somehow overturns this man's overly just death penalty, because not only did he kill his wife, his unborn child as well. You tell me. Circumstantial evidence will bury Barry. I didn't mean to say that, I swear, because that was so cheesy. It will sink Barry's ship. Barry. It's the dumbest thing I've ever said. But it will. Mary says, I was lucky to get out. I'm going to go now. Love you guys. Mary, thank you for being here. Yeah, it'll bury. Exactly. I know. I don't know what the hell that was. I was like, I was trying to steer away from it, but somehow I couldn't. I was like, it will bury. I should have said it will bury Morphew, but I didn't. I went with the Barry. I went with the double. I doubled up. Couscous. Food so nice they named it twice. I messed up there. Thank you so much for your $2 donation. I appreciate it very much. And thank you for this live, Josh. Thank you. And thank you for that super sticker as well. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Josh, can you imagine the tension that will incur over the funeral arrangements between Barry and her family? My prayers for peace. Hopefully, Barry, it doesn't sound like Barry wants anything to do with her. Obviously. So I don't know. Who knows? That's a great question. I don't know what's going to happen. I am curious about it, though. Let's see. Justice hopefully is coming for Suzanne. Rest in peace. Dina81, thank you so much. Where the Wind Blows. Thank you for becoming a member. One-Eyed Flo coming in hot as normal. Her name's One-Eyed Flo, but she has 2 eyes and she has the flow of somebody with 3 eyes. Thank you very much. Pun intended. You're very welcome. And I hope Barry spends the rest of his life. Where is Barry? Last we knew he was in Mexico. Who knows where he's at now? Who friggin' knows where the guy's at? but he's free to move about the country, to move about the world. The guy's got a passport. All murder charges dropped. All of them. Every last one. Every single last one. Everything dropped for now. And it will be interesting to see. And don't expect this to be something like tomorrow. We can't get our expectations so high. Let's take this win, because that's exactly what it is. It's a huge win for the side of justice and the prosecution. This is a big deal, but do not expect it to move fast. They are going to do whatever they're going to try to determine, and I don't know if they'll be able to or not, but they're going to try to determine how she died. And that is when the rubber is going to meet the road. That's when you're going to really know, when they put their cards on the table, when they re-indict him. And look, I don't know if you guys think that he'll be re-indicted or not. And please put a 1 in the chat if you think that Barry Morphew will be re-indicted. A 2 if you don't. No arguing, just I'm curious. I am really curious. I don't like doing polls. I hate them. But I do like 1s and 2s. So we'll take a look here. Peyton says she missed me very much. Well, there you are. Good to see you. I mean, even if you don't think, and I see a majority of 1s in here, even if you don't think that he'll be found guilty, do you think that he'll be re-indicted? I just can't imagine a scenario where they don't. I can't imagine a scenario where they don't try. I can't imagine a scenario where they just let this go. Because I'll tell you what, putting him through it is worth it. They got to try. If they believe that this is their man, and I absolutely do believe that they believe, and I believe it's him too. The guy was literally chasing her around, lied about so many things, lied about so many different things. Terry B says his day is coming. I agree with you. I think that his day is coming. I think that he's screwed, and I think that he's been living on borrowed time. I got to tell you, I know that people are going to go like, well, why, why exactly why are his daughters sticking by him? I would expect them to till the end. Maybe not, but I expect it. What's worse than losing one parent? Well, losing 2. And that's what's probably going to happen. I've seen it. I've counseled these kids. I've talked to the kids that this has happened to, because it was once me, and I know that the majority of us in this horrific club that we didn't choose to be in, well, it's hard to admit that your father is not only a murderer, but that he was willing to kill his wife and mother of their children. That's a hard fact to face. And that's okay. But justice has to be served no matter your feelings. There's a part of me that, is so terribly sad for those girls, but there's a bigger part of me that's even more sad for Suzanne and what she endured and the fear that she had leading up to her disappearance and ultimately death. My feelings weren't relevant towards justice, nor will Barry's children. Their relationship is between them, and they're going to have to figure that out. And it sucks. And hopefully they can see it for what it is. And I just wish them the absolute best. So happy she was found. I agree with you. It's a somber day and it's sad, but at the same time, it's exciting to know that our overwhelming suspicions weren't in vain. God bless you guys. See you soon. Thank you.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There's not really. It is to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I had to put her on the side and where
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There's not really. It is to me. Right. Idiot. I've done my best. It's hard, you know, it's real tough.
but I had to put her on the side and where with the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
It's not really. It is to me.
But I had to put her on the side and where with the boys. But I had to.
There is no investigation.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I had to put her. But I had to put her on the side and where with the boys.